What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with some Destiny 2 news, coming in the form of This Week in Destiny, of course Bungie's weekly update, and in this one, we got a few different items to touch on. So firstly, they give us a recap of the rewards available in the game this week. That makes up the filler portion of the TWID for this week, but on top of that, they talk about some changes coming to weapons inside of Checkmate, so there'll be some new tuning right there for specific weapons inside of that mode, but also a bigger change coming next season, and we'll see the introduction of Gunsmith focusing for the first time. And so Bungie outline how this is going to work, what rewards will be available, and how that rotation will change over the course of time. So that's an interesting update, but additionally, we've got known issues, player support stuff, and a couple of other items to round up in the video. So as always guys, if you enjoyed the video today, a rating below really does help us out. But without further delay, let's get into it. And so firstly, they point out new Nightfall and Trials rewards available this week. And for players who haven't jumped into the Nightfall, they say there is a new precision bow for you to earn. Speaking of new weapons, when Trials comes back at the weekend, we have a new grenade launcher in the loot pool. And so in terms of what's coming, firstly, there is the Pre-Astin Axe 4, that's the new bow for the Nightfall. I'm sure some of you guys have already picked it up, but it's a solar precision frame bow, and they point out in the left column, it can roll perpetual motion, Archer's tempo, perfect float, shoot to loot, as well as enlightened action and rangefinder. Then the second column can get incandescent, collective action, successful warm-up, opening shot, explosive head, and precision instrument. So there are some decent rolls on the thing, and let us know down below if you've managed to pick one up from Nightfalls this week. But also, they talk about the Cataphract GL3, that's the grenade launcher that'll be available in Trials this weekend, and it's an adaptive heavy grenade launcher with strand damage. And in the left column, it can roll Impulse Amplifier, Envious Assassin, Field Prep, Slick Draw, Enlightened Action, Auto-Loading Holster, and Demolitionist. With the right column able to get Cascade Point, Chain Reaction, Explosive Light, Hatchling, Full Court, Vorpal Weapon, and finally Bait and Switch. So let us know if you'll be jumping into Trials or indeed the Nightfall if you haven't done so already, with the hopes of picking up a decent roll on those weapons. Now that's the filler portion of the TWID out of the way right here, but next they talk about Checkmate. Of course that's the new mode inside of Crucible Labs this season, and they're focusing on weapons specifically for this update. So they say, for the initial weapon tuning for Checkmate, they wanted to make sure that the mid-range primary weapon options had a bit more room to breathe, so we balanced the other weapon types somewhat conservatively. We did this because in early playtests it quickly became obvious that a sandbox with a dramatically reduced uptime for special ammo and abilities introduced a new issue to the game, and with most of their counters no longer able to see consistent play, it enabled fast time to kill primary weapons that operate at extreme edges of either close or long ranges to dominate. Diving with submachine guns and sidearms became increasingly hard to deal with as players learned that other primary weapons couldn't kill as fast, and mid-range options struggled to compete. But similarly, when we reduced the lethality of close-range primary weapons to bring them more in line with the mid-range options, scout rifles became oppressive without threat of sniper rifles to keep them in check and to prevent players from engaging at extremely long range. In addition, we wanted to avoid initially making any extremely jarring shifts in time to kill, for example things like 140 hand cannons taking 4 shots to kill across the board, so we limited how much we moved the time to kill in general. And after seeing Checkmate in the wild for a week, we saw that there was a substantial gap between hand cannon performance and the rest of the primary weapon sandbox. So, while keeping our original goals in mind of allowing mid-range weapons to shine in this mode, we're making a limited set of balance changes designed to narrow the gap without pushing faster TTK primary weapons back into dominance. So for example, SMGs and sidearms will not revert to killing to under 0.8 seconds due to an increased player health pools, but we do want to give them a little more forgiveness and encourage some additional variety among weapon choices, and weapons like adaptive and rapid fire frame pulse rifles have come back to their standard optimal time to kill, while most other weapons have moved within a single shot difference. While most of our tuning is focused on bringing other archetypes closer to top level of primary weapon performance, we are going to reduce hand cannon damage, and this won't affect their optimal time to kill against standard resilience, but will instead act as a reduction in effective range and reduce their forgiveness and effectiveness against higher resilience targets. So for the specific changes in Checkmate next week, that'll be after the weekly reset I assume, they say there will be an increased damage penalty on Devil's Ruin Laser Beam, which goes from 10% to 15%. For Fighting Lion, it'll go from 0 to 20%, and for bows, they'll go from 0 to 10%. On the other end of that though, they've reduced the damage penalty on sidearms, going from 10% to 5%, SMGs go from 5 to 0, and scouts from 10 to 9. But they have increased the bonus damage on auto rifles, going from 0 to 2%, and pulse rifles going from 0 to 5%. Then they've reduced bonus damage on hand cannons, which go from 10% to 7%. They also say they corrected an issue that was allowing Gunsmith class to benefit from the bonus damage for special ammo fusion rifles. And there has been some positive feedback generally about Checkmate, so more changes coming next week, which is good, and give us your experiences with that mode down in the comment section. Next up though, they talk about Gunsmith focusing, and they say starting in Season 23, Banshee will offer focusing options for select Foundry weapons, and Gunsmith focusing is designed to offer players a way to chase their dream role of older Foundry weapons, while reducing the ever-growing size of the legendary world pool. And the select focusing options that Banshee 44 will offer are for weapons released from Season 16 up to 19, which means that these weapons are at least 4 seasonal releases old. And these weapons will no longer be obtainable from legendary engram world drops, and instead will only be available from Gunsmith engrams and focusing. So we can see a bunch of those weapons right here: the Soros Cantata 57, the Syncopation 53, Fugue 55, Staccato 46, Pizzicato 22, and Fioritura 59. For Hake though, it'll be the Palmyra B, the Persis D, the Ragenhill D, the Ennio D, the Boudica C, and the Lodbrok C. And then for Weist, we can see Crate, the Redback, Funnel Web, Luna Lata 4B, the Taipan 4FR, and Jararaka 3SR. There are some really weird weapon names in this game, man. But finally for Omolon, the Snorri FR5, Typhon GL5, Ogma PR6, the Galu, Amit, and Orvandil will all be in that potential pool for focusing. They say as well in Season 24, they're planning to update this list with Season 20 weapons for existing foundries, as well as adding a new category for field-forged weapons. But they additionally say Gunsmith focusing will also be replacing Banshee 44's 6-count weapons section, and the following weapons will be moved out of the world pool, and these will not be available from Gunsmith engrams or focusing, but will instead be occasionally available from Xur instead. So we can see there that includes Contingency Plan, Legal Action, the Number, the Memory Interdict, Pleiades Corrector, the Deicide, the Vision, and the Stochastic Variable. So kind of mixing up those loopholes a little bit right there next season. And they say in terms of how the weapons will rotate, Banshee will offer 2 foundries at a time, and after each daily reset, one of these foundries will rotate out for another, effectively allowing each foundry to have spotlight for 2 days in a row. So for Season 23, they say on day 1, it'll be Omolon and Soros, day 2 will be Soros and Hake, day 3 will be Hake and Weist, day 4 being Weist and Omolon, and after the 4th day, of course the rotation will repeat itself. They do say it's subject to change as we add more weapon foundries in future releases. And in terms of how much it costs, they say focusing costs will be in parity with how much focusing ritual weapons cost. So 3 Gunsmith engrams and 5,000 Glimmer. And in terms of acquiring Gunsmith engrams, they say, we're aware that ranking up Gunsmith rep alone is not the ideal way to earn these engrams, and they're adding more ways to get them. So ranking up Gunsmith reputation is one way, but also Lost Sector completions, with Normal having a 20% chance, Legend, Solo and Platinum having a 40% chance, and Master having a 60% chance, but there's also a 20% drop chance from free roam chests. And so there we go, Banshee getting a little bit of love, and not all of these weapons will appeal to everyone, but if you're still working on getting good rolls on them, any things you've missed in the past, or indeed for new players, it could be a good function to have in the game, so that'll be dropping next season, and give us your thoughts down below. Finally though, they don't talk about the supposed DDoS attacks that have been taking place, but they do say we're continuing to investigate error codes in D2, and players should stay tuned to Bungie Help for further updates. Hopefully that stuff will continue to calm down, but we'll simply have to wait and see. They also say they're working to ensure that players who unlock the Crotazen challenge mode within the contest window are properly credited with the One for All triumph and associated emblem, and additional updates will be provided when available. They've been talking about that one for a little while, so if you happen to be one of those players still waiting, hopefully we'll get more info soon. But for today, guys, that's what we have to speak about from the TWID, so a couple of interesting bits in there at least. Give us your thoughts down below. If you found the video useful today though, a rating really does help us out. And also get subscribed if you want to be kept up to date with more Destiny content, and I'll do my best to keep you posted. But otherwise, I appreciate you tuning in, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.